History might not repeat itself in the exact form, but it will make appearances. 64 years after the 1962 Sino-Indian War, what we are seeing in another form where China is encroaching on India's Arunachal Pradesh. And this is a warning to save ourselves, to ensure that we are putting everything right on time, right in place, so as to ensure that 1962 is not repeated in any form at all. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are going to understand that what are the worries which are cropping up in Arunachal Pradesh from China's end, and how this is one form of grey zone warfare tactics that China has been playing for the longest time. What are the examples, and most importantly, what India should be doing right now. So let us begin with understanding that what exactly has happened. So as of now, Na Welfare Society has basically pointed out that their ancestral lands, which was used for grazing and other domestic purposes, that has been encroached by PLA. So what exactly has happened here is the fact that we have received a complaint and there has been a proper memorandum that has been submitted to the Deputy Commissioner of Subansiri that Na Welfare Society feels that their grazing lands, their ancestral land, that has been encroached by Chinese People Liberation Army. Now this is a huge accusation to be made that there is a proper Chinese encroachment which is happening in the Upper Subansiri district, and this is not something that has unfolded in just 1 year, 1 month. This is something that has been complained and it has accumulated over last 6 years. Now when we are looking at such a complaint, an encroachment of China, especially from the Arunachal Pradesh's end, we have to connect the dots here that how in 1962 it was the unawareness and also that our neighbor would not resort to such tactics that actually led for our delayed response. So in this very context, we have to see that how it is the tribal communities coming up and filing complaints and letting on the awareness that this encroachment is really happening, that too by Chinese army itself. Now when we are talking about this region, the whole complaint says that Upper Subansiri district, especially the Taksing Sector, that is the region where the grazing grounds, the hunting in the forest land has been encroached, and the complaint also states that there is construction of roads as well as military camps by Chinese PLA. Apart from that, an additional worrisome part here is the traditional pilgrimage route or the usage of these grazing routes from the people, residents, citizens of India, that is also no longer allowed accessible. So when we are looking at this accusation or complaint that is coming, we cannot just see it as a land dispute, because this raises bigger questions about territorial sovereignty, border management, national security of our own country, and also tribal livelihoods. Now this is where we need to understand the broader perspective first, the broader things, the major framework, and then we will go into the finer details that how we are connecting the dots to 1962, what is the usual grey zone warfare tactic that China has been using, what is salami slicing, and more. From here on, let us understand that what exactly is the dispute between India and China. When we are talking about India and China boundary, they share more than 3,400 kilometers of boundary, but the problem here is almost all the sectors of this boundary, they are disputed. So if we are looking at the western sector, at the crown of India, the Aksai Chin region, disputed. Then when we are looking at the middle center, we have minor disputes present here, and when we are looking at the eastern sector, Arunachal Pradesh, it is claimed by China that this is South Tibet, but India has been very clear that Arunachal Pradesh is an integral important part of our own country, and this cannot be disputed by any other country. Now why there is a dispute specifically in eastern sector, let us try to understand this. Now if you see this red marked line, this is the demarcated border, also known as McMahon Line. Now when we are talking about McMahon Line, what exactly is this line? This line was drawn based on Shimla Convention, in which there were representatives from Tibet, Chinese envoy was there, and also British India. This was signed back in 1813. Now China says we did not accept it. The final agreement was not signed by China, and China says that because Tibet is part of India and when we are looking at it, we did not sign it. How you can expect that this final demarcation will be accepted? And that is why since then this line has been a major contentious dispute, especially after 1962. Now this is what makes Arunachal more vulnerable, because China rejects the Shimla Convention, it rejects the McMahon Line, it has been claiming all of these states at the southern Tibet, it continuously renames the region, the districts and the counties present here, it includes it in the map, and there are several other tactics through which China delivers the message. But China is never out there to fight. China is not ready to break out a war, but China tries everything just below the line to ensure that this narrative is set that this part belongs to China when it does not. But what India says, India has been very clear, Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of India. Second, McMahon Line is the accepted international border between India and China. There is no border resolution mechanism present between India and China. The ties are not that great, and amidst this, we always find tension-laden points. Doklam is a very good example, Galwan is a very good example, where the standoffs clearly show that how close to the verge of war we are standing when it comes to both of the nations not backing off. Now this is where let us also connect the dots when we are talking about the 1962 story. We get to see that all of this starts to gradually materialize. India gets independence in 1947, and up and until 1947, Tibet was also free. Now, when we are talking about Chinese invasion in Tibet, that happens in 1950 and China occupies Tibet. Now, gradually amidst between these years from 1950 to 1962, a lot happened. For example, 1959. When Dalai Lama was given the political asylum in India, which China did not take lightly, which China did not like, and it felt like that India is standing up against it. And then we see 1962, where China attacks India not just on the western front but also the eastern sector. So the Aksai Chin region, and back then it was NEFA, Northeastern Frontier Agency, now known as Arunachal Pradesh. So both of these fronts were attacked by China at once. And the situation was this bad that we had to see that China had rapidly advanced into our territory. There was capturing of Tawang, and even Assam plains were way closer. But finally, by almost the end of this year, 21st November 1962, China declared a unilateral ceasefire from their end, and they withdrew from eastern sector, but they retained Aksai Chin. So when we go back to the map that we were looking at, and we get to see, then yes, they withdrew from the eastern sector, but when we are looking at Aksai Chin, this is where line of actual control was drawn, and it still remains in the same place. So this is where we see that China cannot be trusted, and especially when we are getting to know that it is again taking the similar routes that it had taken back then, it is very important to go back to the lessons that we had learned back in that time. Because it was lack of infrastructure, lack of proper communication, lack of awareness, receiving the information on time in 1962 that led to the situation where China could capture Tawang, and we were limited in terms of not just infrastructure and also intelligence. So this is a lesson that stands for today, that we cannot compromise on infrastructure. We have to stand full-fledged in terms of intelligence, and border villages are the first line of defense. And when these border villages have public, they have people, they work as the stamp of sovereignty. They work as the fact that yes, these are the people of this country, they are staying there, and that is why civilian presence is very much required. And this is the civilian presence which is telling us that encroachment is happening. There is a possibility that China might be playing yet another game. What are these games that we are talking about? So if you look at the word, the broader term that I would like to give you here is the grey zone warfare tactics. China has always been the one which does not believe in going for the war, if this is the warlike situation, but it will ensure that it does everything that lies very close. For example, salami slicing. This is another technique which you will understand that this is something that China has been trying to execute with probably India, but it's not working out. When we are talking about salami slicing as a strategy, it basically refers to occupying tiny pieces of territory. Instead of occupying a whole territory at once, that might lead to full scale of war, using smaller territories, occupying them. And once they are occupied, gradual, easier occupation of the whole territory is possible. Apart from that, I'll point out another China string of pearls theory. That is how China is trying to encircle countries which it is not favorable of. For example, India. How? If you look at these given ports, Gwadar in Pakistan, Djibouti, Maldives, Marau port, then we have Sri Lanka, Hambantota and Bangladesh Chittagong port. This is how through infrastructure China is trying to not just enhance diplomatic ties, their presence across Indian Ocean and encircling India from across the regions, from around the regions. Apart from that, China has always been a big fan of grey zone warfare. That means, as I said, the techniques will be used that are below just the conventional conflict. That means they will not go for war, but they will keep poking. For example, petrol intrusions, Galwan Valley, infrastructure construction. You have to remember Medong Dam, just 50 kilometers away from Arunachal Pradesh. Then we have surveillance, psychological pressure. How? Through maps. Then China also focuses on narrative building. This is another strategy where they rename the villages, publish maps, issue stapled visas. For example, China does not recognize the Indian passport for a resident who is coming from Arunachal Pradesh. So what they are going to do? They are going to use a stapled visa. This is narrative. People who are coming from this place, they are not being recognized as the citizens, who are not being recognized as that they are coming from a real place, from a real country. And this is how you make the narrative around that particular place. So if you will look at all of these examples, you will feel yes, China has been trying to use all of that. And this comes with facts. And this is where India needs to ensure that they do not delay their actions on this. Again, the action do not need to come in form of warfare, they need to come in terms of readiness. Readiness on all the fronts, be it military, for example, improving surveillance through drones, satellites, strengthening border infrastructure and ensuring rapid deployment in terms of capability. Apart from that, border development is very important. As we discussed, civilian presence is a mark of sovereignty. So, the expansion of Vibrant Villages program, improvement in road, telecom, accessibility services, schools, healthcare, and most importantly, to ensure these villages and especially the frontier villages, they are the ones that they remain a viable point. That will only happen if the migration is not happening from these places. Apart from that, we also need to ensure that at diplomacy level, we are not compromising. Continuous corps commander level talks, strengthening the partnership through quadrilateral security dialogue and Indo-Pacific cooperation. So, diplomacy with China and across the stakeholders, across the partners that can actually help us build the real conversation, the real narrative, and highlight the unilateral actions that China has been taking. The narrative needs to be set from our side as well. And to aid all of this, it is important that we take the help of technology and work on governance so as to ensure that our land remains ours. And we do not get to see what we had to suffer in 1962. Because if the accusations at this point of time are correct, then we are looking at security risks. That means we might see loss of strategic heights, faster troop mobilization, local impact, the grazing lands will be gone, livelihood opportunities will be gone, decline in border population, and most importantly, this will create facts on the ground. This will be very difficult to reverse, and it will definitely weaken India's bargaining position in any future negotiations at all. We have to clearly see that these border villages are not settlements. This is not a random land dispute. These people who are living in these settlements, they are human markers of sovereignty. If they are there, then India's presence is there. If they are not, it is going to be very difficult for India to actually protect that land and ensure that it is with them. I hope you have a fair amount of clarity on the dimensions that we have covered today. If you have any doubt, you can let me know in the comment section. This is the prelims practice question for today. Let me know the answer to this in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.